the Lynn and Other Scott show.
That's right.
And Rex. And the other Scott's on his way here somewhere. So welcome, guys. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
And we don't have a topic, but I think we're going to start talking about maybe what we thought before 4-8 and maybe what we thought about after 4-8, which was
there were a lot of different opinions, certainly.
Yeah. And so how are you guys doing? And I might as well change my background to this just to be funny.
Yeah.
Right. You're blocking the sun.
That's right. Nice.
So maybe we'll talk a little bit of the first half of the show about the escalation of the conversations before the whole big 4-8 and how even New York had a little 4.8 little earthquake before 4-8 and opinions and stuff. And then just maybe the other half we'll talk about the after.
Yeah, no, it was.
And you were in Dallas.
We're in Dallas, and so we had a lot of the, we were right in the total coverage for 4 minutes, and it was cool. It was funny a month ago, or more probably, when I first saw eclipse glasses. I bought a couple for like $1.88 a piece, something like that, and we ended up needing a third pair or wanting a third pair. And of course, I went to a number of places on the day and everything was sold out, except there was this corner stand that said NASA, eclipse glasses and, all this stuff. And so I swung by and I said, how much? And they said, $20. And I said, yeah, right. Not happening. I said, we'll catch you in 20 years. Or whatever, I mean, it was intriguing to me what, people were working to. I probably would have paid $5 or something, I would have paid more than I had paid a month earlier, but it was so intriguing that somebody, had taken a $2 pair of glasses and now escalated it to that level because it was that day. Evidently they didn't understand it was perishable. It was going to go bad in a matter of hours, but hey, whatever. And,
entrepreneurship, right?
Well, down here we had heck, every TV station was covering it live, and it was funny being in one of the hotbeds of the path, so.
This is somehow, for me, very deja vu. Didn't we have a conversation like this like a couple of years ago on this show? Something happening in Texas, and that you had some kind of media thing or something that went on?
Yeah, more than likely.
I'm just sitting here going, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm reliving this moment with you.
Well, that's
part and of that's okay. I mean, it's not
part of the eclipse hangover.
I don't mean it. Hi, Eric. That's a good thing.
Yeah, well, it's just it's intriguing that people were so into it, and it was very cool, to see it go from not there to progress to gone, and that last little bit leaving the northwest corner of it, and then all of a sudden 4 minutes later a gold dot underneath it. It was cool to see, and then it was gone and was like, okay, yeah, back to making calls.
Well, I mean, you can understand how centuries ago or weeks ago, people would go, oh my God, and they would attribute all sorts of mystical, magical, horrible, or wonderful stuff to something like that, and sounds like they've done it again, but they celebrate, I just find it amazing. I think the eclipse is fantastic. If we had had a full eclipse where I would probably be out there, with goggles or glasses looking at the whole thing to be able to see it. But I still think it's funny that people get so excited about darkness.
Well, it happens
every day.
Well, yeah, I know. And they were interviewing people down on down at Clyde Warren Park downtown in Dallas. And, one guy from Australia, a couple from Germany, that all flew into Dallas so that they could see it's like, really?
It's
I mean,
when social media fails you, right? I mean, you don't go, I'm going to go watch that on YouTube tonight.
yeah, exactly.
Well, you fly in to do it as opposed to going, oh, I'll just catch it on the tube.
Hey,
yeah, I mean, it was crazy.
Hey, Eric, I sent you a message. If you'd like to join us, you're more than welcome to.
So anyway, interesting times, and
have Eric show up.
And then, 3 hours later, we had massive storms that came through. So we could see it.
Some people have been terrified.
Yeah, well, it really was. We had softball or baseball size hail in some places. It got serious. So.
Oh wow, that's cool. I mean, I'm happy. I wonder how many people had major panic room attacks.
Well, probably a few.
It's ending. Oh my God, it really is ending.
Yeah, the sky is falling.
So.
No, it was cool. So.
All right. Well,
Joe, they don't fall over in an earthquake. They are steady. It's rock solid. It's a good book. And so it's always there.
It stands alone.
For your purchasing pleasure, yes.
That's right. You too can have your own copy.
That's right.
Potentially
in fact,
even
you can buy a case like some people do, and then they give it to libraries and hospitals and prisons and different places like that. So yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So what were some of the things you were hearing before the I'm Bob Donnell. Hey Bob, how are you? What were some of the things you were hearing before the eclipse, from other people? Because there was just a lot of talk before the eclipse.
You had those that just were thinking it was going to be a cool once in a lifetime event, all the way to it's going to be the event that ends the world. And
yeah.
There were people who were talking about simultaneous earthquakes while the eclipse, and that this was a wrath of God, and I mean that it happens. People have predicted the end of the times for as long as we've had years,
and they
as
forget
long as we've had times.
Yeah, and they forget it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be unpredictable. So, but yet they're trying to predict it. So.
People can't justify their whatever. I don't want to call them lunatics because it has to do with the moon.
So Eric has a question. Wondering if construction workers worked yesterday, should they called their boss and asked for time and a half for 4 minutes. They were at work at night.
It was interesting because we had some guys pouring concrete in the neighborhood, and somebody went past them and they all stopped down. We're looking up, so you think the same thing,
And Joe says I didn't pay my rent until yesterday because the world was going to end yesterday.
The banking system could go down.
But do you remember how many years ago was it? It was a few decades when what was it? The Jupiter effect, when all these planets were supposed to line up. Supposed to be, the magnetic pole would destroy all of it, and everything. And, I would be much more concerned about the volcanoes blowing smoke rings, or, an earthquake, not the one in Manhattan, obviously, but the earthquake, somewhere where it's a 7 or 8 point earthquake. I mean, those things would be scary. The idea that we're going to have this kind of, the solar eclipse is going to be the end of the world kind of.
Well, like in New York, when that hit in New Jersey, it's funny to me how friends in Syracuse, New York, people in the same building, some people that were just like desks apart, some people felt it, some people didn't. And I mean, from New Jersey, I used to drive from New York to New Jersey and it'd be like 5 hours away. And it was kind of funny how you could, feel the afterquake or whatever from that distance. So, in all honesty.
No, it was. I think that the biggest thing was, at least I haven't heard of anything really negative that happened. Period. There was no negative effect. People didn't go stupid. Any of those kinds of things. People just kind of made it through.
Yeah.
You know, there were folks that might not have felt great or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Go
I
ahead.
think people attach different meanings to different things, you know, and how they feel and how they felt about it. And I guess it's just whatever, you know, whatever you were taught about it or weren't, or, you know, there's people that chase the eclipse, you know, they've gone, you know, broad or here, you know, the next one's going to be in 2025 or next year or whatever, you know, and it's not going to be here. It's going to be in some other country.
Well,
But
there's eclipses. I think every year there's eclipse.
yeah,
It's not a full eclipse for our country with that pathway for like another 40 years.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. We'll catch the next one for sure.
yeah,
Well,
another
again, I mean, I don't mean to make fun of anybody for their ridiculous beliefs, because we all have had them one way or another. You know, we all share things. But there are people who are sensitive to different things. I mean, like the animals can be sensitive to earthquakes or changes in barometric pressure, and people can too. You know, so you know, it does have to do with the moon and the tides and the sun and you know every. I mean, so you know, there may be an effect. The question becomes is you know how large an effect is there? You know, as you were saying, like with the earthquake, some people feel it, some people don't. They're sitting next side by side. I mean, it's just some people just are more sensitive in some ways than other people are. So
in 2017. I mean, okay, so the earthquake the eclipse last or this year was 40% here in Montana. I mean, like, you know, we were a little ways from it, so we didn't get much of an effect here. But I remember in 2017, um, we were still a little ways from the path of it or whatever. But I know some deer have gotten, you know, confused, you know, from that quick, you know, darkness to
well, they do
light.
say that like bees don't. I was reading something the other day that bees don't when it gets dark, they stop.
Mhm.
They just, like they're done.
Yeah.
They think it's night. So to have 4 minutes of darkness would put the bees out of commission for at least 4 minutes, which might confuse them in terms of their daily activity or their daily schedule. I
Yeah.
mean, I can see that you know, or birds or anything or animals go, oh, it's time to go to bed, and then they go, wait a second, no, it's not. So
Yeah. Well, I just know, you know, it's like when they say things in general, is sometimes people always say, so how's the weather, you know, for a topic. So now that the eclipse is over, you know, so what's the next topic?
well, here's what I would say to everything. You know, my dogs see a dog going across the street and they bark like crazy, and some people will think, oh my God, they're mean dogs, they're attacking everything else, and I think, oh, they're just saying hello to the dogs that are walking across the street. But they bark and they bark and they bark, or they run to the other side of the house or whatever to track their, which is amazing to me. They know where they're headed, so they go to, you know, the corner to watch. Anyway, when it's over, they're fine, you know. And animals get, you know, flustered. Birds, you know, fly out of the trees, get some noises made, and they land somewhere else, and they go, okay, whatever. Humans need to learn how to do this, to like let it go. You know, when it's over, it is over, and don't make a big deal about it before it happens. You know, just go, okay. You know, and if it's about preparedness, that's one thing. But even if you want to be prepared, there's no point worrying about it. It's not going to make it better. You're better prepared. If you get all stressed out and worried and go, oh my God, the world is ending. How is that helping you? So take the steps you need to do to feel safe and to be prepared. And if nothing happens, let it go. And if something happens, let it go. At some point, you just got to get over it and go on.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is just doing, you know, is getting over it. You know, I accept it for what it was. It was a cool thing. Okay, next. I mean, literally, the eclipse happened. I came in and started making phone calls again. You know, it's like,
I love it. I love it, Eric. Eric said, let's do another total eclipse right now in a Zoom.
Going now.
Stand
right.
relax for a second. I love it. I love it. Oh, yeah. I like you need to be here, Eric, on some Tuesday. We'd love to have you. So, but anyways, and he said something here. I bet you even all drug deals stopped.
Or they were made during those
or they intensified.
Yeah.
And the hookers on the street had more business during those 4 minutes because they were invisible, you know, like in the dark.
That's right. Nobody could see him. Business went bad though.
Oh my goodness.
And all that. No, I mean,
No, in Vegas,
it,
take their
once
cards
it's
and
all
throw it all
done,
in the air.
yeah, once it's all done, it's done. Okay, it was cool. That's great. And unless it is part of your topic or, your area of study, I had a buddy who's got a ranch up in Arkansas, and there was plenty of, they had a group from a university there, that was, actually studying it and things like that. Now that's cool. Okay, now they got to take that and go do something with it. But the rest that were just there was like, cool. Okay, now let's go back to the real life, the world, whatever it is.
Got the running joke for the 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. In Rome, New York, it was only 30 seconds, but I don't know what you do in 30 seconds, but it was pretty fast. That's where I saw the little picture. So yeah, and I was in Montana. My friend, she had her camera. She was in Rome, New York, and I took this picture and I showed it to the guys before we started, and there was an image there, and to me, I can't see with my mouse, but to me, it looked like a witch's hat there above the pole line, and then a little face facing the pole. So I thought that was an interesting flying through. Yeah. I don't know if anybody else sees the witch's face and glasses.
But I mean, I think that's again up for interpretation.
Yeah.
People are going to see a variety of different things with all those kinds of things.
Yeah. Oh, here's Eric saying another great question. Can you imagine if the eclipse happened on a leap year? It did. Okay.
Eric, he's practicing his stand-up tonight.
Yeah, he is. He's trying. He says he'll quit here in a minute.
Yeah.
Anyhow, but
I mean, all of this, it's like, where do you go from here? Now, okay, now that you made it through it, now that everybody has filled up every gas tank that they have and every container full of gas, and it was convenient that all the gas prices rose just before the eclipse.
Well, and look at some of the hotels like Shaman, you in Buffalo there. Did you hear that one hotel went ahead and canceled all the reservations to gouge new people that were coming in to get more money for the nights?
So sorry.
Go ahead, Rex.
Well, it's a capitalistic principle. When you can gouge somebody, gouge them. Just take them for all they're worth. Like raise all the prices, like low food prices, the rent price. When they had the 100-year anniversary of Harley, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, the craziness that happened in the area and the amounts of money that people were willing to pay for a tent in someone's yard.
Yeah.
Of course, if you're a Harley owner, you can afford it, right? I mean, regular anybody else couldn't, but a Harley owner, the insurance costs more than their bikes. But I kid. But the point is that people were willing to pay exorbitant fees for what now has become, Airbnbs or, stay in my house for a week or stay in my yard. I mean, there were people who had 10, 15, 20 tents in their backyard.
Crazy.
Thousands of dollars.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. Because they could command it. They did it. Instead of going, come on, just party in my backyard, go ahead,
Yeah. It's just crazy what people will get away with, I mean, and that would happen in Puerto Rico too, when we'd have when the one side of the island would get, my family's side would get hurricane or earthquakes or hurricanes, and they'd get hurricanes, and the other side wouldn't get. They'd go and gouge with ice and bring it over there for $5, and they'd be so mad that they didn't get the hurricane on the other side of the island. It was crazy.
But if
bye, Eric.
If truth be told, the people who are doing the most gouging aren't the poor, the broke, and the middle class.
Tell Jim we said hi.
The people who are doing the gouging are the people who can afford not to gouge.
Yep.
The corporations, the uber rich. And I have no problem with anyone being rich, but what I'm saying is it's just so unfair and uneven, and the disparity is so great. And then the ones that have all the money and all the wealth, then they take advantage of all the people who don't. by
Yeah.
raising prices, and that to me is egregious. That to me is what needs to be fixed. Stop is a better word for fixed. But
Sweet. Yep.
Yeah.
I got a lot of family in Puerto Rico, so all over the island. So
was that where they got the paper towels thrown at them?
paper
A few years ago, somebody was throwing paper towels around. Was that Puerto Rico or was that somewhere else?
I don't remember that. Oh, you like coquito, huh? Or wait, no, literally here the coquis. Yeah, the frogs. Yeah, we'll connect. Just like my message on Messenger there. So we'll talk soon. We used to talk in Clubhouse. Yeah, that was Puerto Rico, he said. Yep, it
And
was.
Eric and I used to speak in the outhouse.
Oh, there we go. Yep, in the odd house. Yep. Yeah,
Very
I've been in those rooms. So, but the Clubhouse back in the day. So yeah, so it's funny because people realize there's just the trends, and there's always there's concerns of what's going to happen, and people are always on different sides of the fence of things. And Rex is referring to the press throwing paper, yeah, to locals. Yeah, it was sad. Yeah, the crates weren't getting to the families and stuff like that. It's sad when there's hurricanes over there and things like that. So yeah,
anywhere,
it's just
sure.
crazy. It's crazy. I do remember the one time that we had lottery winner in Puerto Rico, and everybody here was mad that somebody from Puerto Rico won. Why are they winning the lottery? Like, they're not American citizens. A lot of people didn't get educated that they're American citizens.
They bought a ticket.
Yeah.
That would have been one of the reasons.
Yeah. So behind your brother. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just looking out my window, Eric.
Yep.
So going from the eclipse and the apocalypse and gouging and all that, what is good going on?
Well, I think there's a lot of good going on.
Yes.
I think there are a lot of people that are, working to put good programs into place, try to clean up some of the stuff that's going on. I had a conversation on that earlier today with somebody. All you can do is control the stuff. Today was day 197 in a row of putting a What Now Wisdom out on multiple social platforms. And they said, how long are you going to do it? And I said, well, it's going to be at least 366, as it's a leap year. I'm going to do at least 366 days, and then we'll figure out what goes from there. And they said, why? And I said, well, number one, because I enjoy doing it. Number two, because I can. Number three, I can only control putting out messages.
Wow.
I don't control whether anybody listens to them, where they go, who they help, what they do. But it's interesting that over the last few days, there have been a whole different group of people responding to them than have, 3 weeks ago. So
I think I shared something here before, and if I did, I'll share it again, I guess.
I love you, Flo.
But just what you said is so important. You can't control who receives it, but you can control putting it out. And I do believe I talked about it here, but I told this story in a workshop one time, 80s or whatever, and about something happening. And years later, I met a guy from overseas who repeated back the story to me, almost like the telephone game, but he told the story correctly, which is how
that's cool.
was like, huh?
That's cool.
And yeah, but I mean, it made me appreciate. I was like, wow, I told that story like in Los Angeles at a workshop on a certain day, kind of thing. And somebody told it to somebody, and someone told it to somebody, and somebody told it. It went all the way around the world to this guy who I then accidentally met.
Yeah.
I mean, just, he sits down and goes, oh, and while we were talking, well, somebody mentioned this one time kind of thing. And I think I did share it here. It's about the drunk guy and the sober guy walking down the street kind of thing. And, but the point is what your output is and what you've done, it might be 15 years from now, but somebody's going to go, I read this thing, I saw this video, I did this one thing. And was it an accident in the universe? Universe, and the I mean, it's there. It's there.
Yeah.
And now with social media and the internet and things like that, things never disappear.
Yeah.
So, at least with the Dead Sea Scrolls, they were buried in jars. Here, up for everything.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I think that's the fun part of it all, though, is being able to enjoy. Because for me, like I just did some wisdoms on the 10 Scrolls by Og Mandino, and just great content, foundational content, and how you can take those and to this day, how viable they are, how wonderful they are, and all that, and that's the key to it all, right? Is taking good messages and repeating them and giving the authors the credit for them and things like that, and continuing to share. I mean, we were talking about, what was last week? Weren't we talking about mentorship apprenticeship approach? Right. And the fact is that it's the one, what, this right here, The Greatest Salesman.
Yeah.
Mendino.
I've got that over here too.
But
And I have the Nagamati library sitting here.
But the fact is that, continuing to honor the works, and the mentorship apprenticeship approach always worked, because a mentor would take a journeyman, an apprentice, and they would show them how to do that. They would teach them how to do that. They would do that so that they could then do it. And we've lost a lot of that hands-on, or that caring, or that passing. There's so much social media, which is cool, but the direct passing of information sometimes has gotten a little bit less, which is a shame.
Well, you make a great point, and I would add, and I would shift the conversation just a slight bit, and that is, yes, for information and for putting things out there that can benefit and help people. That's fantastic. The other side to it is, that our words and our actions affect people, whether positively or negatively, and they go out and precede us, and then they come back to us. So always be compassionate and understanding and loving and kind and generous whenever you can be, as opposed to the alternatives. And so the story that I told, what you're telling, it is the idea that somehow things do return in less than, clear or apparent or obvious ways, but things go out and come back, or are created, or are attracted, or however you want to describe it.
Right.
So always be conscious, be aware, and feed forward that, or pay it forward, what you want to see come back, so that it's a win all the way around, as opposed to going, oh crap.
Well, that's back in the day, I used to teach that a happy customer tells 3 people, a dissatisfied tells 11.
Right.
Now I've gone to teaching a happy customer tells 3 people, the dissatisfied tells 11 million.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and we forget, though, look at the people you were just talking about. I mean, he died. I mean, how many years? I mean, right?
A long time ago.
Okay. A long time ago, right?
Copyrighted in 1968.
Okay. So it takes that, many years. You don't know what the ripple effect is till years on, right? So we're blessed to have podcasts, and we have blessed to have video, that sometimes the people don't know who you are till you're gone. And it's, till after you're gone, people all of a sudden will go to our YouTube channels, and we'll be famous way after, because they're like, oh my gosh, I've got to go binge on these, I got over 600 videos on my YouTube channel, they'll go binge on that, so, I mean, so he passed, thanks, Eric, he passed in 96, so you bringing and lifting them up, and bringing knowledge to them, I mean, it just takes that long. Even a commercial or whatever, it takes 10, 20 times to hear something before you absorb it, or learn about it, or whatever. I mean, it's just repetition. So those are the things that you just have to realize that. And I always tell everybody this, it's just important to have videos and recordings of your children, and your loved ones, your parents' voices, and all these things, because when people pass, it soothes and it makes the transition of them leaving so much easier, because you can turn that on and you can see them whenever you want. I mean, it's just like the people in Hollywood. They're always alive to us because we can watch a show. We can, they're forever young, or whatever.
But
So,
Buddha is alive to us, and Jesus is alive to us, and Lao Tzu is alive to us, and Marcus Aurelius is alive to us. I mean, there's a principle here, and that is energy is not created or destroyed; it's only transformed.
Exactly.
So if their physical body isn't here, but their legacy of work and their ideas are shared either through books or audio or video or carved in a tree or on a tablet of stone, it's just a transfer of energy. So Og is here as much as he ever was, except he's not standing and talking in front of crowds. Other people are doing the speaking for him, using his message. Yep. So you have to I think people really need to come to an understanding that you are your legacy. It's just like you're known by the people you associate with. Your reputation precedes you; it follows you. Yep. And if you're a decent, good person, whatever the definition of that is, you'll be known to be that. And if you're not, you'll be known to be that. And the cool part about it is you always have a chance to correct something if you're one or the other. But the point is that your energy, your being will live on forever. Now, again, we live in a day where there's media that we didn't have 2,000 years ago, 3,000, 6,000 years ago. But look at how much we quote. I quote from Buddha and Jesus and stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And from Robert Collier and Napoleon Hill and Og Mandino and people who have passed and Mother Teresa. So these people are alive in ways that aren't apparently physical. So.
Exactly. And you can see within everybody that speaks of them, when we speak of them, we speak about the impact they've had in our life. Mm-hmm. And it's also another way to say, when I speak about it, and that's why I love that I named this show As We All See It, it's how we all see it and how we see it from that person's perspective to us adding our own perspective, which makes it a great way for you to see it from different angles. And that's how we should all learn from each other, is to see it from all different perspectives. Yes, Rex?
I'm jumping at the bit because you said something that really, I just realized I had that experience today. I was with Danny Walsh and Justin Benton and The Secrets of Success with Russell Brunson, and the books and everything. And so I was being interviewed, and Danny or Justin said, "Well, how has Napoleon Hill impacted your life?" And I was like, "Well, here." But it's the very thing that we're talking about. I didn't know Napoleon Hill. I didn't ever meet him in real life, that kind of thing. I know his family now, but I didn't, at that time. So we are so influenced by people around us. Some are great influences. Well, everything might be a great influence. It's just whether it's an influence we want and desire and hope to have versus one we don't. What's the direction of it? But we're so influenced. I mean, the people here who are commenting, like Eric and Bill was here, and other people, Bob, I'm sorry, and Flo is here, and stuff like that. We're all in this soup together, and it's really cool. And
hey, Rex, it used to be it took 3 to 5 impressions to get people to move. Now it's said to be 7 to 12. Was that? I'm asking a serious question. I don't know the answer. Why did it go from 3 to 5 to 7 to 12? Do you know the answer? Is it because messages got more diluted, or there were more of them?
I believe the answer is both. In other words, it's just more competing.
Got it.
And less attention given to, singular.
That's what I was going to say. Is it attention span or dilution?
Well, it's somewhat both. I mean, if you go back before any of the media, there may have still been a tendency for people to say no once, twice, 3, 5 times. I can't speak to how many times they said no during Moses's day. Kind of, you know what I mean?
Were you there? I thought you were there.
Well, I was in a different form, perhaps.
Okay.
But you know what I'm saying? I mean, in other words, the one of it is certainly your focus of attention. 2 is what other choices might you consider? It's kind of like if my kids came to me and say, "Hey, can we go to Disneyland?" The first words out of my mouth would be no, because I might think, no, I don't want to go to Disneyland, or no, we can't afford to go to Disneyland, or no, we don't have the way to go to Disneyland, or no, and then they ask again, and I go, no, and then after a while, I may start feeling guilty, I'm like, well, the kids deserve to go to Disneyland. So, I mean, there's other factors that come into that. Sometimes they just get worn down, and then say, yeah. So the more they see it, the more familiar it becomes, the more the message kind of absorbs, they sink in, they go, because they may have considered it one time and kind of dismissed it with full attention. Now they hear it a second time. The third. Have you ever had, and I ask this of us, but anyone who's watching, have you ever had anything that you said, well, I wish I could do that, but I can't do it right now? And then you see it again, you go, maybe, and then, and then down the road you go, screw it, I bite the bullet, whether it's a donut or an automobile, there's some mechanism.
Because you start thinking about it more, and you start, asking the question.
You want it more. So sometimes it's just that there's time factors in there. There's all sorts of stuff. Some people don't make decisions until they've slept on it for a night, 3 days, a week, a month, whatever their thing is. So,
no, I get it.
I could play Moses on the big screen. What?
Yeah, and then pick up lines.
Why, that's a lovely bag of peas you have there, lady.
And he means by that, he means the positive, energetic, and awesomeness that you have. But seriously,
I didn't see that. I mean, that's funny. That was an old line from like the 70s. That's a lovely bag of peas you have there. You go into a supermarket, find the lady you want, and go, oh.
Do you need to sleep on it? Oh, my goodness.
Well, the point being is if you just start a conversation, like, what's the best pickup line in the world is?
Hi.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah. Well, people don't understand. I mean, I guess the perspective too is if you see something, whether, being influenced by somebody that's negative or whatever, you can also look at that as being positive because you positively don't want to be like that person and you take notes of that. That's a great thing because now you know how not to be. And that's how I would tell my kids every time they were around someone that they didn't like. I said, but now you know that you do not want to be like that person. So you have that lesson, and not having that lesson doesn't allow you not to be like that person. So when I lived there, their best pickup lines.
I thought that was in Texas, not
Vermont. No, that's Arkansas.
Oh my goodness. Oh my
goodness. A Willie Nelson concert, right?
That's right. Let's insult a number of states.
Oh my goodness.
Well, no, but I mean, all of this stuff, I mean, it's interesting how that is the one thing that many people don't have the ability to do anymore is just hold a conversation, say hi, ask some simple questions and just learn to meet people,
Right. Well, and you notice that too, because like being from New York, and even when you go to the city and stuff, and when you get out of there, it's just amazing. It's the who's going to say hi when you're going, hustle and bustle on the street. You either have some people that look down or they'll look up and say hi, and it's that game of, there's nothing to be afraid of saying hello and having that eye contact, Go ahead.
I was 13, maybe 14, 15, somewhere in there. I'm walking down the street with a friend of mine and people pass by. I nod, I say hi, I go smile, whatever. And he goes, stop it. I go, stop what? He goes, whatever you're doing. He says, you're going to get beat up. I'm like, for what? He goes, well, you're like saying hi to everybody. And I mean, it really blew me away. I was like, I can't be friendly. I mean, I can't, it never.
Well, same thing happened when I went from Syracuse to, I worked in Fairfax, Virginia, and I lived in Maryland. And when I worked in Fairfax, Virginia, and I said hi to everybody in lunch, they go, Lynn, you don't do that here in the South. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, you're down in the South. And I did not know the South rules. This is back in the 90s. I was like, and I was like, excuse me, no, I'm from New York. I'll say hi to anybody I want. And I did not like that.
Him in the head.
Like,
but that was, you didn't really want to say hi. You just wanted to be able to say hi if you wanted.
I was like, what the heck? I lived in Sykesville area actually, and I drove the beltways, and I went down to Fairfax, Virginia, almost 2 hours a day one way to commute. So yeah,
Crazy.
so yeah, it was
I'm
crazy.
happy I could provide for you in that area.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, but anyhow, so no, this has been great to speak about these things, because like I said, it's a matter of perspective on how it's so quick people to judge what they don't know, or when a news story comes out, or when they tell only half the story, not the whole story, and then people start assuming, and they run with like at first, and I had this a little discombobulated, but the gist of the story, how they were trying to say that, why is everybody knows the sun comes from this way, and this and that, and they were forgetting that it was the shadow of the eclipse, and they were making everybody question which way the sun goes up and this way and that, and they were distorting people's perspective of how the eclipse were and all this stuff. And I'm not going to get all political here, but all I'm saying is like, people don't understand that it doesn't matter what channel you turn on, but everybody's prompter comes from the API, and they get the same verbiage. It's just a different person reading the same notes. So, not getting political here, people, but all I'm saying is some people still drinking the Kool-Aid somewheres, and I just wish people just realize that everybody gets the same script at 6 o'clock in the morning for that new news. Just change the channels and play the DVRs, people.
It was funny. I was on an elliptical trainer this morning, and they've got different, big, what's that?
Did he mind?
No. He got over it. So, but there are big screens of NBC, ABC, Fox, different.
Yeah.
And the weathermen were going across the green screen. Their gestures were at the exact same time. They stepped across the green screens at the exact same time. They went facing to the left as opposed to right, and came back and forth.
My point exactly.
I happened to notice it. But it was crazy. They were like showing the exact same radar.
My point exactly. I rest my case.
Well, and just so you know, but I haven't been to the gym because they turned off all of the news and political channels and just put on like home cooking shows and things and stuff that I'm not interested in. So if I want to be on a machine, I've got to sit here and go, really? I'm not go put on something I can argue with. I want to yell at the screen. I don't want to.
The cooking shows are to get you to work out harder.
Yeah, because you go home, you go to the grocery store, get everything you saw on TV. Suggestive.
Well, it's a knitter's almanac. I don't knit. Not
that they're hypnotizing you. You know about that. Suggestive. Go knit. Pearl 1, Pearl 2.
I would say this. I don't. And we're talking about. I don't. We all make judgments, and we all have our own beliefs and our values and our commitments to ideology and things like that. And, we may poke fun at that, or even at not necessarily specific people, but people who hold beliefs that we may or may not share. If you can make fun of me and all of my beliefs, I don't care. So if I do it to you, I hope you don't care either, but I know some don't feel that way. My point is that I don't care if you and I butt heads. It's not about the fact that you or I have a judgment that we hold on to deeply and dearly. The question becomes is are you able to entertain something else? Are you able to let go of that and learn about another person and why they're interested in what they're interested in, how they came to the conclusions that they came to, and the reasons or the whys or whatever that have them cement those beliefs or those values, or ideologies or principles or practices, into a locked form for themselves. Because most people, don't talk or communicate or listen to learn, but even I'm sitting here going, yeah, I want to say this. We do it to talk, we do it to speak, we do it to inform, and it's one thing to share. And it's another thing to say, well, that's stupid, and there's no way I will ever think otherwise. And if I'm guilty of that, I want somebody to go, Rex, do you know what you just did? Because It's about being able to step on the other side of the line and look back at who's presenting. If I can take another person's point of view and look at me and go, wow, you're being really hostile or aggressive or stupid or arrogant or, again, they're labels and judgments. But if I can look back at myself from as if I were in another person's pair of shoes and go, you're being a dick now, or you're being a saint now. You know what I mean? And that's the stuff that we've lost, or that people need to learn how to embrace. Is how do you step next to the person and align with them, so that even if you disagree politically or religiously or morally or ethically or whatever it might be, you can still have some degree of rapport and understand that I may not want to spend a lot of time with this person, or I may want to spend lots of time with them, and we have to agree to this, to disagree, whatever. But it's the people who just go, you think that? Okay, done. I'm writing you off. You ain't good. You're the scum of the earth, blah, 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 blah. And they don't allow for any other possibilities.
Well, that's the thing. You got to be interested in the person, and you got to say, gee, you got to be interested in to say, gee, I don't understand why you have questions for that person, and to understand why they think that, or have questions to say, I never seen it that way, or real, and be open to say, well, gee, I didn't know that, or to admit that you did not know what that person knows. And maybe because you didn't know that, your mind may have changed because now you have a missing piece you didn't have. So, hi, Darlene, we love seeing you. So what I'm saying is it shows you that some people come to the room to have never really heard the speaker, to hear or to learn nothing, but to say, oh, I know more, only to judge, to say, I know more than Rex, and I've got something to say that Rex doesn't have to say. Well, that person's small. That person has no value, except they don't want to grow. Hey, Sandy, great to see you.
Well, that's why I went to the, my platform being return respect, honor, and dignity to the planet. Respect is something that you give to people. You don't have to agree with them, but you should respect them.
Yeah.
And then honoring is lifting them up. And when you respect and honor people, there's dignity involved. And if we had more of that, that's why we don't all have to agree. Very rarely does everybody agree on everything, if at all, ever.
Right.
But everybody, you should be respected. And that's why some of the people that, were going crazy with the eclipse. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I don't feel the same way, but I can respect their thought.
And you know what I love when I see people passionate about something that I don't know about, or that I had no idea they were interested in something, like the eclipse or whatever. I love to see that their passion and what they're interested in that I had no idea of. I can respect that. I can respect that, to see that they're interested in something that they're sharing. And so there's no judgment there. I'm passionate when somebody's passionate about their political views. But again, there's so much to say about the Democrats and the Republicans. There's so much to say this, and that it really doesn't matter when you forget that, hey, we played in the same schoolyard. We grew up the same, thing. We consider each other family. And all of a sudden, because I may have read this history book and you may have read this or that, and all of a sudden we can't be friends. Like when you forget the value or interest that you have together, or that kinship, or whatever experience you have together, and you let whatever you learned here and you learned here to ruin the friendship and what binds you together, when you lose that core for whatever you have here or there, it's a sad thing in the neighborhood. It's sad. That's what we need to stop. And, to see all that in COVID time and politics time, it really is sad, because then we get when people pass away in funerals, then you get the hypocrites, then you get the people that are saying, oh, but I really loved them. Well, you didn't love them when you told them go to hell because they didn't vote the way you wanted them to. You can't have it both ways, people.
Right.
And that's the part you can't, once somebody's gone, you can't take away you being mean, and people forget that. And COVID should have taught us that many people died from that. We got to take living now and loving now seriously. because no day is promised. And I'll preach that to the day I die. And I just wish that people will say, like you said, Rex, love, and Scott preaches this all the time, honor, dignity, and respect. And we just got to find that commonality, and to know that we all see it from a different lens, different perspective, and that find the common love, and forget the rest, because, we need to, we just need to focus on what we love, and, leave the rest of the darkness out and bring the light to the light.
Well, there's a scripture that says, he who has ears hear, and he who has eyes see. So not everybody who has ears hears, and not everybody who has eyes sees. Jesus spoke in parables, pretty much because everybody would take a different meaning from it, or they would take the meaning that they're supposed to get at the time, and for others, they have no clue what it was about. But one of the parables, one of the stories, one of the examples that I think is really, really poignant today is the story of the Good Samaritan. You had somebody who was not of one country, not of one political belief, was not of a religious belief, was not of whatever. And you had another person who was not, they were opposing, essentially. They were completely different and essentially enemies. And one is injured and the other one stops to help and nurse and minister to that person. And, we think so often that, well, I mean, if somebody were dying in the street, I might do that too, whether they were whatever color, whatever religion, whatever pronouns, or whatever, right? But it's not just the, extreme examples that's important. It's when you're sitting with your relatives on Thanksgiving or Easter or Passover. It's when you're on the bus next to somebody or the subway, or you're walking down the street. Everybody is your neighbor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody
Connected.
has beliefs and values and ways they like to be addressed and ways they don't want to be addressed, and thing. And for us to think that our way is the only way, and that we can't find a common form of agreement, it doesn't have to be that the person's dying or injured or bleeding or whatever in order to be helped or to be ministered to or to be uplifted or edified. You can do that to anyone, anytime, whether it's the barista or the bus driver or your dog catcher or whatever it may be, the policeman on the corner, the nurse in the hospital. We're all in it together, and the only thing that makes us not in it together is what we think here. Otherwise, we're on the same rock going around the sun that just had the moon pass in front of it. And that's how that tie back, that calls back to the whole
Yeah.
because we live in a circular kind of. Anyway, the point being is that be kind, be gentle, be courteous, be caring, be compassionate, be understanding. Because you like Lynn said, you may be called to go any day. So why not make it your best day every day and be as helpful and loving and kind and compassionate as you can be, so that it's the best day for those people around you too.
Yes.
And why do we have to wait till there's an emergency or something drastic happens in order to be kind to that person? Think about that. That's bullshit.
How would we like it? How would we like it if our EMTs and our firefighters and our police suddenly said, I ain't going to that house because you know who lives there? They're of a different political party or a different religion or a different gender, or they have different pronouns, or they read different books, or they, I mean, I don't think many people would agree to that. And yet that's how so many people have decided to live.
Yep. Yeah. It really, it makes no sense. I mean, again, that's where the respect, honor, and dignity comes in, right? We don't have to, we're different, we're different for a variety of reasons. When I grew up in Milwaukee is dramatically different than Dallas. Now, that's right. That's 100% of the statement. It's just different. It's not like one's better than the other or whatever. It's just different. You do different things. You got different climate. You got, right. And that's the thing that I realized that actually, I think when I went off to Iowa, because I never knew Iowa even existed, not the school, the whole state. I never knew the state was there. And then I went off to school there, and some of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life that are friends to this day, that, you know, playing ball with, or just going to school with, or things like that. You know, absolutely amazing. And there's just something about, I think everybody should have to live in the state of Iowa for a period of time. I'm not suggesting forever, but I am suggesting for a period of time, because the overall, the people are just freaking awesome.
Yeah.
You know, they'll do anything for you. Right. And so, and I'm not suggesting there aren't other places like that, but it was, you know, Milwaukee was Midwest values. Iowa was certainly Midwest values, but they were even different. I mean, when I got into managerial, when I started hiring people, I hired them out of the University of Iowa and Iowa State for one reason: work ethic. Well, wait a second. Why? How did you know? Because at 5 o'clock in the morning, they were slopping hogs, or they were, you know, they were picking fields, or they were doing stuff, right? They had a work ethic to them, and it made a big difference. And again, not saying it's the only place. It was the place that I knew had that, right? So, I mean, we all have these different things that we surround ourselves with over time. But the easiest thing is what we can control: our outbound effort, being kind, being nice, being pleasant. You know, who wants to be around a grump? You know, that's no fun. So.
Beautifully said, Scott. Although I will say that you've called for me into question whether you're actually from Milwaukee or not. because people who are from Milwaukee never put the L in it.
Right, Milwaukee. I actually learned how to say it after I left.
Yeah, after you left. Okay.
Well, you guys, it's getting to be a wrap-up time here. So
share out the show, everybody. Share out the show. If you got anything from it, be sure to share it. And go ahead.
Share the show, and also, you know, come back and suggest some topics.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
It's always fun. You know, Barry, get better.
Yes,
John,
Barry, get better.
Be safe at your meeting.
Yeah.
Scott, get home.
Yes,
you know.
He didn't get home.
That's right.
I love having you guys here. I missed you last week, and so it was a great topic last week. So really appreciate you guys always being here. Always love talking to you guys, and it's just always a great show with you guys. Just appreciate you guys. Love you. So it's an honor to be on the show here with you guys always. And
as it is for us.
Yes, it is. Yeah, exactly.
It's just a super honor, and you guys are the best. So as always, you guys, we really appreciate you guys. You guys got any last words?
No, just, you know, share the show, you know, join us, share the show, come bring comments, come bring topics.
Yep.
You know, let's just have some more fun.
All right.
As we all see it.
As we all see it. That's right. See you guys later. You guys stay right there. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Keeping me safe inside.